Welcome to the introductory tutorial for Excel spreadsheets for physical science students at York University. As a York University student, you have free access to the Microsoft Office Suite, the 2016 version, and this is the Excel spreadsheet option. My name is Professor Michael D. Robertus, the Department of Physics and Astronomy at York University, and you're going to learn a few tricks and tips that will help you solve some of your problem sets and assignments. You're probably all very well aware of what a spreadsheet is. In this case, there's a series of menu options here which should be explored certainly at your own leisure. We'll encounter some of these as we move forward in our tutorials. The second level shows very important commands at fingertips, basically. But the heart of the spreadsheet, of course, is this matrix of cells that have both column numbers A through Z, A, B, A, C, etc., and row numbers 1 through, well, over a million if you require it. A particular cell, such as this one that I've just highlighted with the left mouse click, is D4. Cells can contain a variety of information, including general format, text or character format, real number, integer, scientific notation, financial formats. It can even do time and date formats, that kind of thing. I'm going to enter now 10 numbers. They could represent successful outcomes in a series of 10 trials, whatever. It's not important for the moment. So I'm just going to add these in. So I have, as you say, from B1 through B10 added in individual numbers. Now, at the moment, these are right justified. I can click on the B column and you see an option for left justified, center, right justified. Why not just center these data? Now, I'd like to sum the numbers from B1 through B10. This is a mathematical operation, so it's either a mathematical operation or the calling of a function or a formula, as Excel calls it, always is preceded with an equal sign. And I could now type in 6 plus 7 plus 5 plus, in other words, use Excel as a glorified calculator. That's not really helpful. It turns out that there are a series of functions, hundreds of them, that could help you in this context, and sum is one of them, I happen to know. So you type SUM, and in fact, just these three letters call up a number of possible functions that Excel has. I happen to know that just sum is all we require, or left parentheses, and again, I could say 6, 7, 5, etc., and right parentheses return, but better still is to reference the range of the elements I'm interested in. So B1 colon B10, right parentheses, and you see the data, in fact, are highlighted. That will be summed, hit return, and we have then in cell B12 the number 59. And now I'd like to calculate the average of these 10 values. Well, I have the sum, and I think we all know that to get the average you divide by the number of elements. So again, it's a mathematical operation, equals, and I can just type B12 and then divide it by 10, like so, hit return, and there's the average. Now I'm starting to accumulate a little bit more processed data here, so in fact it's always good to start writing comments or cell values or some kind of character string that will help you understand once you've saved the file and come back to it 2 weeks later what you were thinking at the time. This is of course called just the sum of the data, and this is called the average. Now I also happen to know that there is a function in Excel called average which would allow you to do it all in one step. So let's try that. Again, B1 through B10, highlighting the data, return, and you see the same average. Now in this case I'm going to give it the label fast average. Okay. And also, you know, I might want the standard deviation of this series of numbers. So let's type okay. So notice that when I am typing in this cell, in fact, this box here contains what it is that I'm actually typing, and it's very helpful because it contains a lot more space than the cell itself, and so you can see where you've typed the formulae wrong or where you've misspelled things much more easily. Now notice that the standard deviation is in A16, but if I type B16, it's empty. So why is that, in fact, text going over into B16? Well, it's in fact showing that, but it's all contained into A16. Now what can I do to show that both words together? What one can do is one can decrease the size of the font, but perhaps better is to put your cursor on the line between two columns, left click, and then drag the column as wide as you want. Or one other thing you can do is double click on the line between two columns, and that will automatically broaden the column to fit the largest entry in that column. Okay, equals standard deviation. I have to know that that's the function we want. Again, refer B1, the range B1 through B10. Again, highlighting and hit return. And we have standard deviation. I'd like to only see three decimal places here. So I click on that, right click on that cell, and I see that there's an option called Format Cells. This happens to be a number, and then I can dial up how many decimal places I'd like to see, 3 in this case. Now Excel carries with it the full range of accuracy, 14, 15 figures, that type of thing, but for formatting, we just want to see the 3 figures. Okay, now what I'd like to do is I'd like to sort these data between B1 and B10 in ascending order. But what I'd first like to do, left click, highlight the entire data range. I'd like to copy these data to another location in the Excel spreadsheet. How about F1 through F10? Click on where I want B1 to go, right click, and I paste. There are a variety of paste options, become more important in subsequent tutorials. There we go. Now the data are still highlighted. I can now go over to a very important sort and filter option here and sort smallest to largest. I hit return. Notice that the data in B1 through B10 are unchanged. All these data are unchanged, but this has been sorted from smallest to largest. And what happens if I said, oh, I made a mistake, I want to be largest to smallest, that is in descending order? Well, I have two options. One option is to undo what I've just done. That's type Control Z. You see it returns to the same order as we've seen in B1 through B10. And then I can go and sort largest to smallest, for example. Or I could have gone straight to sort largest to smallest. The Control Z is the undo, Control Y is the redo option, so return to where you were. Okay, now I'd like very simply to show a simple bar plot, simple chart as Excel calls it. Best to highlight the data, and I happen to know that in the Insert menu item, these are the plotting options. Now these are called charts in Excel, and I really recommend that you go and click on the recommended chart option, because Excel will read your mind and give you a set of options that likely one of which will fit. So there I go, this option that's highlighted, press OK, and you now have your chart or your histogram or bar chart shown in the window. If you proceed to an area on the chart which is blank and left mouse click and hold down, you can move your chart anywhere you'd like. And then if you want to resize your chart, go into one of the anchor points, left click, drag, and you can in fact drag it to the size you wish. Finally, if you want to rename your worksheet, because you can have an innumerable number of worksheets in one particular file itself, you can right click on it and rename it. Again, introduction, return, and then it's best to save your work. As you know, save as, and you will give it a directory and a file name, which one hopes you can remember in subsequent days and weeks. Okay, that's the first introductory level tutorial. We'll work on a more complicated problem next, so stay tuned, please.